when you take any ingredient, check whether it's God-made or man-made. And then all those processed food where there's labels and ingredients, the hundreds of them, and specifically long ones where it's even hard to pronounce, they're not for human beings. They are for, aliens, like plastic people. If you eat plastic, you'll become a plastic person, robot, or whatever. There is a journey there. I mean, everybody's free to choose their path, but I mean, that's the way. The plastic food creates plastic people, who needs plastic food, and the industry goes. So,
welcome to Came Here to Love, a podcast hosted by me, Liz Logan, where we explore heart-centered conversations with visionary leaders from around the world. This podcast is a journey into wisdom, a path to transformation, and an invitation to catch the highest vibration of all, love. Hey everyone, it's Liz Logan, and this is another episode of Came Here to Love. And today I get to sit down with Vytautas Vaičaitis, also known as Vytas. He is an intuitive nutritional practitioner, Institute Lifestyle Mentor, and a plant-based chef. He's based in Ibiza since 2013, and he combines over 30 years of personal exploration in nutrition, fasting, and holistic living with 11 years of professional experience helping others transform their health. He specializes in creating detox-friendly plant-based dishes guided by a kilometro zero philosophy using local, organic, and seasonal ingredients, sourced sustainable. His unique food alchemy preserves nutrition and flavors while supporting regenerative agriculture. His expertise has been featured on Lithuanian national TV and in lifestyle magazines, where he inspires audiences to embrace conscious eating and sustainable living. Whether crafting vibrant recipes or guiding detox programs, Vytas is committed to empowering people to live joyful and healthy lives. And I'm so excited to have here on Came Here to Love. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you believe in, where you are in the world. Give us just a little background.
Now I'm formally living in Ibiza Island, and I escaped my Lithuania in that way that my soul was calling something where I could express my creativity and my background as a professional athlete, like snowboarder and swimmer specifically, and also working in the technical field, sound engineering, doing all those things, pushed my body to the limits. And those limits, of course, comes from my childhood, where when I was born and I got diagnosed with autoimmune disease or dermatitis and eczema and all those things that came together. And being raised by a medical family, of course, I was forced to use a conventional medicine and all those things. That story, that life journey that I was always pushing myself, even seeing myself as a black sheep or, there's something out of society, because especially in my childhood, I had a really strong traumas of when my body was really sick and all the skin was super dry, cracked, and even like it looked like somebody cut it with a knife, my palms and these parts. It was very hard, and these traumas are very deep, and that inner calling brought me here in Ibiza. A lot of years I didn't expect anything, when you allow yourself to things happen.
Yeah.
And ended up in Ibiza cooking food for beautiful people, already professional 11 years. And learning about the nature, what it has for our bodies that we could use as a fuel and also nourishment to be in the balance. Because I tried a lot of diets, and I know yourself, you also have a lot of knowledge in the plant-based nutrition. And I started looking at the nature, how I can work with her together, because I see that everything else is pushed back. So I'm here after 37 years, because the diagnosis was when I was born in 7 months, and then 37 years later, I kind of finally get peace in myself. I get to be in peace that, okay, your body has to go through the journey, whether it takes 1 year or maybe 37 years, it's still a journey. The earlier somebody would help you, the better it would be. But sometimes, the hard lessons, teaches a lot. And then that wisdom where I could share with people every time I cook for them and explain more about the food than just a dish, and some colors. That brings me, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, the journey is all of the lessons. It's like we don't get to skip over all of the hard parts that make us who we are in the end. And that's kind of the, as an artist, it's like we're carving our true selves out of this block of unknown shape. And all of those lessons start to chisel away at a deeper layer of who we are. And it shapes us in a way that it holds beauty, it holds wisdom, it holds incredible divine intelligence or infinite intelligence. And it's really fun when you can actually get to a place where you wake up to that as the gift of life, as opposed to the like life is happening to me, as opposed to life is happening for me, right? So I want to go back to your childhood for a second, because obviously you were diagnosed, or at what point did you know you had this autoimmune disease prior to all of the symptoms? Like, were you struggling for a long time prior to knowing what it was?
No, actually, about my disease, it was my parents knew already, when I was born, 7 months, and it all happened. And I remember, I think from 2 years, 2.5, when I was already walking and speaking, I really I was interested into speaking with elder people. I don't know why, but for me, it was already, my soul was like, oh,
yeah.
And then I remember that I felt a lot of pain, and with the rashes, scratching, and lack of sleep, and all those things.
It was really affecting all of your
systems. This completely. And then later, when my parents were bringing to the doctors, so I've been in hospitals many times. I had like in retreat centers per se specifically for allergies, but so it was very early, and everybody was saying just you'll have to deal with it your whole life, and that was really sad.
By the way, everyone listening or watching this, I apologize for my lighting quality. I am coming to you from the sacred mountains above Mexico City, and I needed those mountains in the background for our conversation today. So less about my face and more about the beauty of nature that surrounds us. But yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about, so here you are as a kid, it's really, you don't know life any other way outside of this autoimmune disease, right? And so where was the moment, do you remember a moment of pivot when you started to take control of your own destiny through that? When I always say in health, especially, that we are the CEO of our own life. And we are the director. So at what point you're on this conventional path because you're in a medical family. And so you're doing all of those things, very traditionally medicine. But then at what point are you starting to go, there's got to be a different way, or there's got to be a better way? What point was that?
So there were 2 stages. One, first stage was very rebellious, and I wanted to do when I was in my teen years. 12, 13 and something. And I was already getting the message that I have to change something. And I knew that there's something related with diet. And I was asking my parents, can I change something? And they said, no, you're still developing. You need all these, proteins and everything, and potatoes and everything normal. You cannot change the food that we are serving you, of course. And I had my uncle who was, he is for me still a spiritual inspirator. And I knew that he knows more than what is in the physical realm, let's say, right? Beyond the walls, what we see. And I was asking him, and he said, like, just be patient. You'll come to the time where you can use all the knowledge. The knowledge will come to you. It will be the right time. And I was so frustrated. But then the second stage happened when I had 18. I finished my school, and then I fully could be responsible for myself, right? And then I said to my parents, okay, now, like actually almost like the same day I turned 18, I said, like, now that's it. I'm changing my diet. I will become a vegetarian. I'll see how I will feel and all those things. So I think from 18, really, I remember I did this step towards exploring what's out there.
That was about the same time that I think I was in discovery around what food really is. Probably when I was 16, I think I was struggling with, actually, I had a lot of inflammatory stuff going on in my body early on. I had no idea. But if you saw pictures of me, it's such I'm in such a different body than I am now. And a lot of it was just inflammation caused from all of the dairy. I was eating a ton of dairy. I was eating a lot of meat. And also a lot of gluten. In America, we were in this transitional state of industrial farming, and so everything was over processed, and it was just a different time. And I also grew up with a Southern grandmother who I love so dearly, but in the States, in the South, cooking is just a lot more rich in the South, and so a lot of my influence was heavy creams and heavy dairy. So I was very inflamed. And around the age of 16, I think I started to begin the quest of like, I don't feel good. Like I know I have all this vibrant energy. I've always come in with that, but I don't physically feel like I can do all of the things that I want to be doing. And I was very athletic as well. And so, so I think we're kind of on that same journey of that pivot moment of where do you start to seek knowledge through the wisdom of food, and how does that transform? And so now take us on this journey, because you and I met in Ibiza. I had the pleasure of being in your beautiful presence of offering through the power of food. And you were cooking for us. I was on retreat and you were cooking for us. And I have studied with some of the greats. I did a Cornell University plant-based medicine nutrition program. And before that, I was in the realms of kinesiology and nutrition on an overall concept, but I really wanted to go deep into what are the studies and how do we really know that plants are working to our benefit. And so I actually studied with two of the greatest doctors of our time, and they pioneered the China study. I think I mentioned that to you when we were together. But Dr. Campbell was one of my biggest influences. And so I know a lot about plant-based medicine and superfoods, and I've done a lot of nutritional experiences of cooking and whatever. So I get to Ibiza and you bless me with this. I mean, you bless all of us, but I get to be in the room. And what I think was remarkably different about the way that I received your offering was, it was like not food. It was like you infused this food with the activation of love, with the activation of deep wisdom. And it was the hand selection of the ingredients and everything you were doing to prepare us to actually get fuel in our body. It transferred into our cells. And so it was like activating. I felt like there were all these electrodes just going around my body, like firing them all up. And so I would love to have you tell me and tell the audience the journey of how you go from where your personal path, and now realizing that plants are the way, to this complete transmission of your gift to the world. Like, how does that happen? How did you learn that? Tell me more about that.
Thank you for this beautiful question. It's been a long journey, and this learning and knowledge, it came when I started I had 18 years. I decided, okay, I'm gonna change now. What I'm gonna do? Okay, I know something about vegetarianism, and then I started experimenting. I took out the meat and fish, alcohol also. I didn't use alcohol at all, almost, but it doesn't. I didn't know anything about combining food and everything, like. Now we know, and of course, during the China study and when I was reading, like, oh, okay, this is it. And it took a lot of years, actually, for me, almost 10 years vegetarian, vegan, and things, and it didn't work. And the things that were coming back through my body and allergies and all these, and now I understand that the capacity to detox depends on various things, and I didn't know about that. But that taught me a lot to use the ingredients, to take care, and it brought me where I'm now here in Ibiza. Learned during all those years practicing and cooking for people, and specifically for women, 11 years cooking here in Ibiza for women retreats, how to use the heart, the love that is in my heart, and actually by accepting myself the gifts, because this is really big part of my journey, accepting who I am, not pushing away the skills that everything I have. And little by little, I got a confidence and understanding that the nature is here for us, not the nature doesn't want to kick us out or poison us or everything. It's just all there. All the medicine is there. And by doing a lot of mistakes also, but at the same time trusting my intuition, because that was the force of me being not afraid of trying different recipes, even though not reading the recipes exactly. I'm just would take the ingredients, what they are, and then somehow the idea would come, okay, I'm gonna like now peel it, now chop it, put some spices, and magic happens. So it was a really long journey what you experience, and I was one of the things to be patient taught me a lot of things to take it slowly, and I'm observing the nature since my childhood, because my grandparents taught me, and they were all my summers would be in the fields, planting, taking care, taking out the weeds, and then harvesting. And all my childhood, I saw how things are growing out there. And that knowledge also, I just recently, a couple of years ago, understood like that was the reason why I am now here and I can work with the plants and understand in being patient, not taking things for granted, and going to the farmers instead of the supermarkets, and connecting with the earth, with the farmers, with the land, with this season and the place specifically. So Ibiza was a really like a spaceship, I entered here and it seems like I entered to the new realm that, okay, regenerative agriculture, we have to take care of the land, bring it back, because in the soil is everything our body needs. It's not in the plant, because you can put the fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, it will grow anyways. But what it has inside, it's a different thing. And that comes from the earth, from the land, and specifically the other energies that are there when it's in season. And slowly, it took me 11 years, well, 30 years, that's, I would say, since my childhood, but to understand, things. It's, and that magic, when I come to the kitchen, and as your podcast, Came Here to Love, right? So I come to the kitchen, how I can transform that love into beautiful dishes that they would have a vibration of that love. It's not like I would just make a beautiful table and everybody would enjoy. But at the same time, the food, the real food, right? And the real food consists of everything. It's not of the shape, but taste, but also the invisible part where we sense. We sense the love when we hear beautiful words. So the same, we sense people can sense the food. That somehow I got this gift, and now I have to accept it, not to run away from it, because many years I was just trying, okay, I can do it, it's tasty, but I don't know if it's my path, and especially when I had a professional career in other fields.
To really honor your gift, and I think I want to touch on something here that it's so important to bring to the awareness of everyone listening. But the reason I named this show Came Here to Love is because I believe it's actually our highest purpose. It's what we're here to do. And what I mean when I say came here to love, it's like we came to Earth in these earth suits, in these beautiful costumes that we get to wear. Our soul, came in these beautiful bodies. And we go through our lessons of shedding away the old conditioning and getting to the truth of who we really are. And from that place, we realize that we are love. And when we do that, when love becomes a vibrational frequency in which we operate, in which we move through our daily existence, when we realize that we're no different than these sacred mountains behind me in the nature and everything around us, that it all holds energy and it all holds vibration. That when we can tap into that infinite power of all of that oneness that we really are, then starts the real journey, the real quest of what our way of showing that in the world. And I think you said it so beautifully, that you had to actually accept who you are first. And that's such a key component that I feel like in our society and in our world, no matter if you're in Ibiza, Spain, or if you're in Mexico, or if you're in Colorado, where I come from, anywhere in the world, we all hold this same misunderstanding, which is that all of the answers are externally out there. And the answers do not exist out there. They're tools and they're guideposts for you to go back into your sacred heart and to get really still there and start to, clean. It's almost like we're in there rearranging and cleaning and dusting and making room for what this light frequency that we all are comes in as. And so the fact that you are on this embodied path, you did that work first to really realize that you are who you are, and you're this you are one of the most magnificent humans on the planet roaming around, especially, yes, and especially with the transmission of then realizing your purpose is through the sacred expression of nutrition and food. And you are an embodiment of what true health and vitality really, really offer, because you're connecting all of the loop. We're an invisible thread all connected together. But with that, it's like you start with the earth and you honor that process, and you're all the way from the understanding of what the soil depletion and requirements are to grow good food. And then, threading through all the way from the farmers and the agricultural people behind that regenerative process. And then you take it all the way through inception of actually putting it into our mouths. And it's remarkable. And I'm really proud of you that you've honed that craft. I think the way I explain it in a lot of my coaching and speaking is that first you find center, you find yourself. And then you realize, so you live your light, you fire up that inner light, and then you get to shine your light onto the world through the power of your gift. So you've done that very, very well.
That's so true. That's so in alignment, so resonates. I mean, that I had, we all have to go through the journey, and how we have this perception and how we look at it, it's way different. Nobody taught us about these things in school, and the school system could improve. And I hope and I see that there's a lot of schools that are improving in how to help these souls, those bodies, those kids, who are just about to go to the world and share their magic, how it could be supported. And probably I had to go through all the stages. And almost, I had a really dark moment where I didn't want to live, like completely. I said, like, that's it. Nothing changes. I'm in my teens, I think. It was already, or maybe in the university school. Yeah, there was a school where I said, like, I don't see a purpose. My body doesn't change. Nobody can help me. Nobody says, you have to be the same and to apply the rules. And I was like, wow, if this is it. So I actually had the two moments in my life. That was the moment where I couldn't heal myself and nobody could help me. And that was a really huge driving force to change, to make changes. And then the second time, when a year ago my mom passed away, and then I couldn't help her because she had her own vision, and I didn't have a degree in medicine, let's say, like she had. And so the authority for some people are, if you have a white jacket, the name and doctor this, doctor that, then people kind of try for them is like, of course, there's a good side there also, learning about the physiology, about the organs, how they function. But I couldn't help but my mom, because I was going through the other side, already had the knowledge of the food, of the nutrition of the body, how it works, what is detox, and what happens when there's so much things happening in our bodies, and body, if he cannot deal and we are not supporting that, then most of the times cancer happens, which everybody's like, oh my God. But that's due to many years of abusing and not listening to that. And I tried to help my mom, but I couldn't. And then, okay, I said, I will accept it. I did everything from my side, which what I could do in that terms, and with the medicines, with the alternative, like I was cooking and we were going to the different healers, did that all psychological work. Even though my uncle, which I mentioned before, he prepared me for this this stage in my life where I had to accept this transition of my mom. And he said, like, souls are they never die, just we're changing the vehicle.
Yeah.
Just as a bus stop, you jump out and then again, you repeat it or not, it depends, of course. but just in the simple terms. And this, preparation for me helped to understand. But then what happened, it's always when you cannot help to your beloveds, to your family, to your mom, which gave you birth, this life, this opportunity to have this experience and learn things and all the things. And then when you can, it just, there's a moment when even though you went through all spiritual practice and all those things, and you think you know everything, then there's a moment when it hits you, and when it hits you, it's like, bam, that's it. Yes. And that was first Christmas without her, and then it started a really kind of dark stage in my life where I didn't want to do anything with food, with nutrition, teach people, share anything. I want just kind of like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it was like a really moment. And I said, oh, what is happening here with me? And that's it. I don't feel anything, even though I understand, but I don't. And it took until my birthday, when it was this March. And then it was the equinox time, and something shifted. I said, okay, I had to go through this pause, through this dark moment, just to understand what's been, and I have to accept, and acceptance as you've been loved by planet, by earth, no matter what. The unconditional love is always there if we are open to that. I accepted that. And interesting thing, because my dad got cancer, and then was the next stage for me. Okay, now I had this learning how I'm gonna deal with that. And that was interesting enough, because at this point, he wanted my help. I asked him from the different perspective, because with my mom, I think I didn't have even a moment to ask her whether she wants a help. Because there was a moment she said, first, I will try conventional medicine. I know she had a lot of friends in medical school and oncologists and everything. And then said, well, if that won't work, then we'll go with you. Yeah. But my dad was like, I asked him for whether he wants my help. And then he said, okay, yeah, I accept. And then something opened. Something opened, that the whole experience through my life, now I could get to share with my father, which for men, it's very important to have a father figure in their life. Of
course. Very important.
It's another topic about the masculine energy, but just in short, it was the best moment in my life, working with him 7 weeks when he accepted to prepare him for the surgery, and then after surgery, because he decided, and I said, like, okay, I will respect any decision he will make, and I'll just try to work with him together, cooperate, not try to convince him that I know better than anybody else. And that opened new door with like new chapter, even loving more. That love in the heart, it seemed that some chains just went off,
Yeah. Well, it's so fun. Oh my God. Everything you just said, there's so many nuggets to pull out of that. But I'll say with the last part that you just said, different from your mother's journey to your father's, is when there's an open acceptance, you can change the vibrational frequency. When you're not in that aligned place, then there's resistance, right? So again, with everything being energy, it's beautiful that you had those two comparison stories of how, your mother's journey was versus your father's. And again, it's those profound learnings. It's so funny you were saying what you did before about your knowledge journey, because I was pre-med and I was really into wanting to be in the medical world, but in an alternative approach. I always knew that. And then I got in, I think I was year 3, and I was so burnt out of all of the school that I decided that I would stick with kinesiology as exercise science as a minor. But then I went and switched over to business and got a business degree, because I wasn't really ready for more school. I wasn't in a disciplinary place that I could accept the knowledge that would be coming in. So I chose not to do that. But one of the reasons that I wanted to do that path was for the authority to be able to help the people that I love, and to have that white jacket with the name, with the right title and the right voice coming through that filter, right? And so it was a really interesting thing. So instead, I ended up opening a wellness center a very healing Eastern Western modality immersion of how we can actually look at the whole person. And subsequently ended up marrying a doctor because I also was like, okay, why not just pull that in? And so I married this beautiful man that was a doctor, and we didn't end up staying together. But it was so interesting to watch the people that I cared about most listen to his voice of authority versus my voice of authority, right? And so it was a very interesting story that you tell as well. So I had that experience. And what I also want to just say that you mentioned about, the journey of the soul, which is that we all come in. I believe we all come in. We're never dying. The soul continues. It's infinite. It goes on to become other parts of different lifetimes. But I do believe that the path of the soul, it's a recognized path. And so when somebody is actually making the transition, however their transition is from this human earth suit to the next journey that they're going on, I think so oftentimes we all push death away. We all think we need to fight death. It's like, let's fight it till the end and we can overcome it and all of the things. And it's not to say that that's not a beautiful journey. There is healing in the steps of that. But when you can actually then, to the point that you had to surrender with your mother's journey of going, okay, this isn't going to work and I can't save her. And anything I try and do, it's not going to work. And when you can actually start to lean into the death cycle as one of the most, if not the most, birth and death are the two most significant moments of life because you come in and you go out, right? And so I feel like we live in a world where death isn't necessarily wanted to be talked about or wanted to be leaned into. And that's one of the beautiful gifts that living in Mexico has given me is I actually walked my stepfather through his dying process. And I made it very ritual and very spiritual and very beautiful. It was unbelievably one of the most gratifying moments of my life was spending the last 3 days of the true death process with him to his dying moment. And that's another story. It's a very beautiful story. I should tell everybody. But that process really opened me up to what is death and what does that cycle really need to look like and what can we gain from it. And funny enough, I now have a stronger connection with him now than I ever did when he was in physical form. And the magic that has happened in my life since his death has been unbelievable. And I've been really awake for it. I've really listened and looked for signs. And he plays me music all the time. All the time he comes through with songs and it's always at the right moment. I'll be in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden a song will come on. And I'm like, wow, this is my message for the day, So I think Mexico, then I moved to Mexico full time. And Mexico really was the teacher of, we celebrate death in Mexico. We honor death. We honor that process. And so, yeah, I would love the world to adapt that more. I think it's such a beautiful gift. And so with your parents both dying, it's huge. It's a really big process.
It is, and I really resonate what you said. And nothing ends, and the souls are always speaking. And when I teach people about don't forget to drink the water, there's many rituals we can do with the water, right? So before I go into the sea to swim, I'm standing in the sea, and I do every day a ritual, just thanking for the Mother Nature that I can stay there, for the life force energy that it brings and oxygen and all those things. But at the same time, I use the water as a vessel to communicate with everybody at world and another world. So before I just jump in, like for granted that, I can swim in this ocean, I kind of ask for permission. And at the same time, I talk to the soul. So first, what I do, I talk with my mom and I send her a lot of gratitude. I always apologize for everything that I did since my birth, because it's never, men never will understand what it means to be mom, first place. And this is the most expensive work that nobody pays for it, right? So all that, and I feel that in my heart, that there was a lot of moments in my life she gave me so much love, and I didn't give her back. And it's the same with the food. Later I understood, like, and what I do in my body, is why I started learning about it, because the certain foods can heal you and give birth to your cells and regenerate, and some food might just give, your cell will die, and all this process. So I'm kind of observing this life and death, and then through that water, I just talk with her, and it's such a as you say, you feel more connected. And I do that now. It's really, even though it's so hard to understand because it happened so fast. She was in her 60s, and she had a long way to go, because I thought that her body's so strong and she heals the people. And she was an eye doctor, a iridologist also. She could read the iris and tell all the things what's behind. And she knew all the spiritual world. She's been in Ibiza and all those things. So that was even harder for me, because I knew she knows. But what's blocking her to open it up, and things. And that was even more. I wanted to kind of add on that journey, because my mom wasn't in only conventional, medic, let's say. She knew a lot of things. She was in Iraq and had a lot of experience as a military doctor. And that was like really hard, like, why she knows, but she doesn't do that, or she doesn't accept. And that was interesting learning for me, to accept and allow her to be her. And me as a son, just, support her, hold the space for her. And then this love thing, the last moment we spoke in the hospital before she left, she hugged me and she said, like, I love you, you always will be in my heart. And those words are staying until now for me. Like, okay, the love is infinite, it's there. She gave me this birth in this life, the opportunity to learn. And now I have to accept no matter what. And at the same time, accept that you never know, next day will be next day. And we never know what's going to happen. So living 100% is also, I recommend to everybody, if you have any doubts, and I remind myself every time, if I have any doubt, cooking, going to the farm, is why I'm doing this. This is the moment, we have to be present. And the more present we are, the more we can get to experience what's happening around us.
100%. I love that. And thank you for sharing that vulnerability, because it's so beautiful. So I want to actually take us into more practical lessons now of what are some things that you would like to offer to our audience listening that they can implement in their lives from the knowledge of that you carry, the wisdom. It's really more wisdom. Yes, you have a lot of knowledge, but the wisdom of your nutritional journey. Like, what would you invite as maybe the top 3 things that our audience could do to implement into their daily life?
Through my experience, I had to accept that everybody is different. So certain foods for somebody will be good, some foods will not. So tapping into your intuition is essential to allow yourself to any healing process or capacity to detox, because there's a lot of things that's been bombarded. We are bombarded every day, with things that never existed before 100 years or more. So the first thing I said, like, authenticity. I share with people that, allow yourself to feel your intuition, but intuition, not mine, because mine will always tell, okay, I read this article, this is good to me, now you have to eat the apple, now you have to drink the juices, now there's many things around the world. But what brings you to the center is loving yourself through intuition, allowing yourself to feel what's real, what is real with you, align that, because then the healing process could start. And then you will discover new things and maybe recipes. Maybe, if you've been drawn to vegan diet, and then you understand you need some kind of meat or animal protein, but not because, you will be, killing or something, that forget about those things. But you have to kind of understand that your body at that specific moment in your life needs those specific minerals, that all the nutriments that the meat or any ingredient has.
Yeah. So I think what I hear you saying, just to kind of hone it in, is bringing awareness to the choices of what you're putting in your body. And so For me, when I started doing this more often, before I would actually ingest anything, I literally would ask my body. I would literally ask myself, is this what I'm calling for? Actually, this just happened right before the episode. I'm staying at my brother, one of my spiritual brother's house in these beautiful mountains behind me in above Mexico City. And we're getting ready to actually sit in ceremony with indigenous elders in prayer for Mother Earth. I can't wait to share more about that. But he was offering me tea to have for this episode for you and I. And I was like, oh, beautiful. Yes, I love tea. And I was like, what is the tea? And he was like, oh, it's a beautiful tea from, I forget where it was, Africa or something. But he said it has the relaxing benefits and it helps you sleep. And immediately my body was like, nope, abort, because I didn't want to be in a relaxed, tired space. I was like, well, does it actually put people to sleep? And he's like, well, it could. And I was like, no, I can't have that. And so it's this intelligence that you're calling in, and correct me if this is what you're saying, but that's kind of what I'm hearing you say, is to check in. What is the easiest way, in your opinion, to do that?
There's many ways. I can share this. It took time. Specifically, we have to be patient for that. And for me, what it helps to have some specific rituals where I know that my intuition, I can be connected when I'm grounded, and also what my body needs is always the oxygen and the water. Those are the primary things that we have to nourish cells, and then all the magic happens, because once you get hydrated and there is no depletion in the water and minerals, then the intuition taps. I don't reckon which was the speaker that shared with me. I mean, I have a lot of books, from Barbara and O'Neill and all those beautiful souls that share the knowledge, but it resonates so much for me, because this helps me just kind of, okay, now what's true, what's not. So for me, it's the first basics, the most simple essentials is oxygen. And you know that already from Soma Breath, learning about how the oxygen and how we can work with the most basic thing, and then also the water and the quality of water. So I kind of try to go as simple as I can now, because I understand that there's many things and we can go super scientific and quantum and all those things. But what I come to in these years is a simplicity. It's very basic things, and rather to choose one ingredient, just enjoy that ingredient, than to mix it up and have it something that you don't know what's going to happen in your body. So,
and that's actually, sorry, you can continue in a second, but I just want to pause, because that's actually a really good point that, I hear a lot, because my background was also plant-based nutrition. I hear a lot of people be like, oh, I can't do vegan, or I can't do vegetarian, and I only eat fish or whatever. It's less about any of that. For me, these labels of like, well, what are you? I hate this question, because it's like, what are you? It's like, I'm actually just me. I'm me, right? But what I put in my body is an intelligence system that's working both in and out. And so I love what you just said about, one, there's the awareness piece about, check in with yourself before you ingest. But two, really watch what you're combining and how complicated your food choices are. Because actually, when you strip it down and you just have, for example, if you just have potatoes with a little bit of olive oil and some beautiful high quality salt, check to see how that does with your system. Don't add in cream and cheese and all of the sauces and all of this stuff to complex your intelligence system from understanding what you're putting in. It's like, it needs the time to understand, like, okay, if you're going to have, beautiful salad, don't overextend the salad to where you don't know if you're reacting to the lettuce or you're reacting to the peppers or all of those things. So I think that's also a really good tip. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, that's really important. The simple, real things. What I came, remembering my childhood, my grandma, used to grow things and we would eat super simple food. I'm not saying that the combination was the right when you have this inflammation, but the simplicity that I come now and I'm trying to learn and train myself. Okay, slowly, don't mix too much things or mixing in the specific way, but and tapping into intuition. When you take any ingredient, check whether it's God-made or man-made. And then all those processed food where there's labels and ingredients, the hundreds of them, and specifically long ones where it's even hard to pronounce. They're
Yeah.
not for human beings. They are
Yeah.
for, aliens, like plastic people. If you eat plastic, you'll become a plastic person, robot, or whatever. There is a journey there. I mean, everybody's free to choose their path, but I mean, that's the way. If the plastic food creates plastic people, which who needs plastic food, and the industry goes. So, and the real emotions, real, groundedness that comes, it's from real food. And my journey is learning and sharing with people, in every step what I do.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, so we have a ton to talk about in future episodes. This conversation does not finish here. I want to dive into, though, because I know people are trying to get to work and into their life and doing other things as you're listening. I want to just ask you a few other questions about your personal journey and how these questions relate. So when your life just answer this question. My life feels meaningful when?
Okay, beautiful question. My life feels meaningful when I get to share my creativity without any fear, without any boundaries, and just feel that love and allow that love to flow from my heart through my hands and just like that.
You are like the embodiment of what this podcast is about. I have to speak that because I see you and I honor that. What you just said was so beautiful. So thank you for that. And then my next question is, what do you think the world needs more of?
Oh, the world needs more of compassion, patience, for sure, in these times, big time. And healing the inner child. If I would get back to, my childhood, I would say just, you will be nourished and you will be loved and you are loved. We don't, everybody has their own stages in life, right? But, I just want to acknowledge that, when you feel grounded, everything else comes, but we have to allow. And, that's the simple thing. It's the more simple, the better it is.
When we actually, all of the true lessons and wisdom are simple. They're simple. So if you're in a moment of complex struggle right now, break it down, and seek for simplicity, seek for truth that is in those wisdom teachings. It's all very simple. It's nature. I was just walking in these mountains this morning and doing a lot of offerings and doing a lot of water blessings as we were crawling through these beautiful riverbeds, sacred water here. The water here is like blue. It's insane.
Wow.
But yeah, when you go out and you look in nature, it's not complex. It's intelligent. It's very different, but it's not complex. It's very simple. So if you need to just immediately drop into that place, go study nature for a minute. Just sit outside. It's pretty spectacular.
I just wanted to add on, people have to check in with themselves also to allow, because I always say to the people why I'm in Ibiza, not in Lithuania. I said, like, all the birds for the winter, they fly to south, right? So I'm flying south to Ibiza to enjoy and be to spend as much time as I can in the nature and being surrounded by the mountains, specifically to look at the horizon of the sea. That helps. But every single person has to tap into that. What is that thing, the place where they get inspired, and they can inspire their own creator inside.
100%. I love that. And then my final question for you is, or it's not even a question, it's more of a statement. How would you answer this? Love is?
Love is beautiful manifestation of the creator or universe, whatever you name it, that happens right in this moment. It never ends and it never ends. And it's just infinite.
Wow. What an answer. I love you so much. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed. I know that for you, my intention is that we can create beautiful things in the world to really help people get into the nourishment part of their life and to tap into how to really infuse the vibrant energy that comes through food. So let's co-create something wonderful together. I know it's coming. And
Oh, big time, Liz. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I had a lot of, energy going through me, looking forward to our conversation, and it happened like in the most magical way. I was actually doing a ritual for this podcast to happen in the way that it has to happen.
I'm so grateful for that. I was too, praying in the mountains this morning for all of us. So again, Came Here to Love is really a place. It's a sanctuary. It's a sacred space for you to just really go deeper into your life and to come into the truth of who you really are and what you're here to do. So thank you for joining us today on this episode. We'll have all of the show notes and all of the details of what you can do and find and create based on this episode. And we will definitely be back together here for another episode. So make sure you share this with someone you love if today's episode resonated with you. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you. Much love to everyone.
Thank you for joining us on Came Here to Love. I hope today's conversation has inspired you to live more fully, align with your soul, and spread more love in the world. Remember, love is the highest vibration, and when we lead with it, we elevate not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us. If today's episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who could use a little more love in their life. And as always, keep tuning in for more heart-centered conversations that remind us all why we are here to love. Until next time, keep living your light and loving with your whole heart.